This is Majin. Here's some comic reviews for you. We have, let's take a look here. Nova, Inhumanity, The Awakening, Cataclysm, Spider-Man, Wolverine, the X-Men, Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, Just JOA, Arkham, and Suicide Squad. Let's take a quick look at Suicide Squad a second. Basically what this is well, hey, let's tell everybody, we're going to tell you King Shark's origin. And we're going to do it under the Forever Evil banner, so this way we can waste our time dealing with a little bit of information, which might have been interesting, but didn't need to be included in Forever Evil. And in fact, this story with them trying to get OMAC could have been easily done without labeling it. But I think sales are down, for the Suicide Squad. They need to get sales up. They threw Forever Evil on it, and they hope for the best. And I'm definitely, if there's another one, I don't remember if there is, but there probably is because they still have to deal with the OMAC part. I'm not buying it. Not at all. Okay, Arkham War. All I gotta say about this is this. Nobody fears Bane. Which makes you wonder, why would nobody fear Bane? Because Bane's a badass type character. Granted, he always gets beat up by Batman, but all of them get beat up by Batman. But, he's the one guy who can just pick you up and throw you around like a rag doll without, breaking a sweat. So he figures out that, nobody fears him. So he, in a span of a couple pages, page, I should say, he builds himself a armored Batman suit, and he's terrorizing villains. You be the judge as to why this book doesn't sell. Okay, Justice League of America, number 10. This is one of those times where I'm going, you have finally given me what I want. You have Stargirl alone with Martian Manhunter in her head, fighting supervillains. It's very disappointing that apparently this batch of supervillains are the only ones that are in existence in Forever Evil, because they're the ones that keep popping up all the time. And I'm like, God, it's like you have such a colorful rogues gallery. Can't you use anybody else that's not a Batman or the Batman or a Flash villain? It's just ridiculous, But anyways, the fight is really good up until you get to the part where Stargirl keeps having these flashbacks about what life was like before Forever Evil started. And I'm like, you are really bogging down the story. Let me illustrate this point to you. Imagine you're watching like a Jet Li movie, or maybe you're watching The Raid, and Jet Li and The Raid, those are just usually fantastic movies. Not the Jet Li American movies, but I'm talking about the Jet Li movies from Hong Kong. They're action-packed, great story. And imagine during the fight scene, it stops, and it tells you stuff that doesn't even pertain to the fight. It's just, imagine, Jet Li going, hey, hi mom, hi dad, I'm learning some kung fu, but, kung fu's kind of dangerous, so I'll be careful. Or The Raid, where the guy is like going home, going, hey, maybe I'll be a cop, and his stepdad goes, that might not be a good idea, son, because it's dangerous. That's what you get. And they give you more fighting, and they give you more flashback, and they get more fighting and more flashback. Excuse the language, but fuck the flashbacks. Give me the goddamn fighting. You know what I mean? Freaking ridiculous. And then, I'm not faulting this, because I think this is great for characterization. She finally gets away from all that people. She separates herself from the Martian Manhunter, and she has a choice. The world is on fire around her, and she either can rescue the superheroes with the Martian Manhunter, save countless more lives, or she can go back home to California and save her mom and her boyfriend, the mom's boyfriend. And she chose to go home. So that is fantastic character in terms of showing you that this is a superhero that really is a piece of crap, who basically is very self-centered, very immature, can't see the big picture. I mean, realistically speaking, she should just be bawling and going, I'm sorry, Mom, I gotta save Superman. Because I know if I can save Superman in the next 20 minutes, everything will be fine. But no, I'm gonna fly home and say F everybody else because these two people matter the most out of everything, and no matter what, when the crime syndicate comes to catch me, they're all dead anyway, so it's not going to matter because there's nobody there strong enough to protect them. So I thought that part was a very interesting choice in what they did. It definitely not a bad choice because I think that was a good, in a sense, a very interesting decision. Also, we find out where the heroes are, and I'm like, oh, that's all I gotta say. Oh, oh. Okay, Batman, number 26. This is another one. I'm just so freaking tired of, like, people trying to retcon the past. Don't try to be clever about the past. Let's try to be clever about future stories. Like, because when you start tampering with characters and their origins and the relationships with people, and you start inserting things that don't belong there, what you're really doing is you're tarnishing like the history of some of these characters. And like people, like, granted, you're a brand new comic reader, it doesn't really matter, but the problem is, I guarantee you, the people who are buying Batman far outweigh the newbies. Meaning these people have been reading Batman for years. They know the characters. They have they have familiarity with everybody, and what you're doing is you're just jacking that around, because basically what they're doing is, in this issue here, is they're saying that Commissioner Gordon, or soon to be later Commissioner Gordon, I'll just call him Gordon. He basically he saw that Bruce was skipping school. He picked him up from a movie theater, and they did a drive by from various stores to check in. Gordon's like, oh, don't worry, we're stopping at these places because we're here to protect people and make sure they're safe. But it turns out what they were doing is they were accepting bribes and protection money, because basically that's where this jacket came from. It was part of a protection scam. And then we get this thing here where now Bruce is alleging that Gordon had something to do with the death of his parents. And it could be that, or else maybe he's just saying, well, this is what I remember, and you didn't, because you're not really out there protecting people, my parents died. So it could be a couple of those scenarios. I'm kind of thinking it's the second part. But anyways, it's like, why are you doing this? You don't even need that. I can understand you say that you don't trust police, but you don't have to really ruin the characters. Granted, you can say, obviously, over time, the relationship between those two characters is ironed out. They become friends. Maybe there's misunderstandings along the way. I don't know. But it's like, why do that? Next up is Superman and Wonder Woman. This book had me going through a lot of different emotions here. Basically, what we have here is this. We have Superman. Remember, he got hit by Apollo, and then he got hit, by that sun energy, and he's like on fire. Basically, Clark Kent, right in this panel here, is like basically a 60-year-old guy who took an entire bottle of Viagra, and he's just roaring and ready to go with energy, and he's like, I can, move mountains. And then, Bruce is like, hey, why don't you have Diana come out? He's being supportive in the sense that, granted, while I can't help you out in this time where you're kind of just on edge, she can probably, she's the one that you should go to. And he's like, nope. And all I'm thinking of is, if those two got together when he's like this, there would probably be like an army of super babies. That's all I was thinking. Now, from there, then we get, oh, there's this dimensional doorway opening up in intrusion thing, and then it's Zod. And it's just, I mean, parts of this fight was actually kind of good. I was like, wow, you got the JLA working together, and I keep thinking, how does this all fit in Forever Evil? But regardless of that, they had some really nice teamwork. I like the part where Hawkman just clobbers him on the back of the head with his mace, and I just love Hawkman when he does that kind of stuff. That to me it makes me like think Hawkman's like my most favorite character. But then what happens is, Superman, Wonder Woman come, and they're like, well, we're taking him away, and Zod's playing like, oh, don't mind me. I know you don't really know me, and I came from the Phantom Zone, but I'm really a good person. And I'm thinking, wasn't Zod in a recent Superman comic? For some reason, I'm thinking that that's what it was, considering it's called Zod Returns, and then, but nobody seems to know who Zod is. And then, eventually what happens is, and this part that really made me kind of, like, laugh. It's Christmas time. And Wonder Woman goes, what do I give you for Christmas when you can get anything you want? So what she does is she arranges the JLAers to basically cover the emergencies, monitor everything and take care of everything. And what she does is she gives Superman time. Now, it's one thing to say, I'm going to give you time so this way you can spend it with your family. I'm giving you time so this way you can write your memoirs. I'm going to give you time just so this way you can see the sun set and enjoy it in peace. No, she gives him time because she wants a booty call. And I was like, that's a woman. Alright, next up is Wolverine and the X-Men number 39. Now, this one wasn't too bad. This is going back to what I really liked about the Wolverine and the X-Men title, minus the humor side, because I thought with the Wolverine and the X-Men, the two components I liked was it had interesting characters with lots of humor, and there's some decent, some little bit of fighting. And here we get a lot of fighting in a sense, because what you have is Wolverine and Cyclops, and sneaking into the S.H.I.E.L.D. Sentinel place. They also learn the fact that they both have issues. Wolverine is now killable, which they make reference to, and Wolverine learns that Scott's optic blasts aren't up to snuff. Now, while that's going on, we also get the Shield, two Shield agents impersonating mutants to basically destroy the Wolverine and the X-Men's mansion or the school from within. And I thought this part was really good. Granted, it was really cliched in that you have two characters. One is by the book mission. The other one's like, well, they're really not that bad. And so that part was like, oh, I've seen this 1,000 times. But regardless, I thought this was a decent read overall. The art's not too bad too. I mean, granted, it's not the best in some places, but like pages like this were just fantastic. So there's no way I'm really going to talk smack about this, because overall I thought it was pretty decent. Okay. Cataclysm Ultimate Spider-Man. While this was a good read, to me, it kind of felt like I've read this stuff before, and that's why this didn't really make it to be the good. Now, this is the sad thing. Now, we still get these wonderful pictures of Galactus about ready to eat everybody, but we don't really get farther into that. It's like basically Cloak and Dagger decide to do something about it and quickly learn they're ineffective. We see Boom Boom becoming more being a heroine, and we get to see Miles also. It's like basically what do you do in this situation, and he, they basically tries to save lives. And the thing is, now this is where I don't know where this is going to play out, because Miles in this issue goes to his dad to save him, and he reveals his secret identity to his father. Now, while that's going on, isn't there the other Ultimate the Cataclysm book where they meet and then they say, hey, I'm going to go back into time. I mean, not back in time. I'm going to go to the other dimension so this way I can talk to the other Reed Richards to figure out what's going on. Because to me, that's what it sounds like, that they kind of screwed that up. Because here, Captain America specifically says, we're going to let Stark do his plan. So either this neatly fits in between pages of that last issue, or they kind of forgot something. But other than that, it was still a good read. I mean, the art's good, the story was still well done, and unfortunately, that's probably one of the best Ultimate books. Okay, The Awakening #1. Now, this is not the strongest books, but this to me was like a really good example of showing somebody when they awaken, so to speak. Like, I really liked how, okay, the beginning part was just kind of like, oh, here's a bunch of heroes there, and this is all the heroes from the hunt, and what they're doing is they're basically, saving the day, finding people, rescuing them, clearing debris and whatnot. But then they learn of a girl who's basically has turned into an inhuman, and so they go to save her because she's saying that she's going to commit suicide. Now, this part, the way they told the story of her background, I thought was really creative, and I give them props for that. The thing that's really funny is, man, this girl, she just gets no love because nobody loves her pictures. They all hate it. But then she turns into the Inhuman, and then life goes bad for her, so to speak. I mean, heck, her power isn't even that good. I mean, she's got her hair is replaced by feathers, and she gets wings type thing. And I'm like, you can fly, but I hope you can do something else besides that. So I thought that part was a really interesting way of handling it. I don't know how much of this I'm going to be able to take because the writing isn't really that strong. I thought it found a novelty idea and it worked. But we'll see. The second issue is going to deal with her brother because her brother awakened, and they're basically night and day. One's kind of good, the other one doesn't look like he's a very nice person. The art was, I thought the art was decent. It's not the greatest. I thought some of the faces, like her facial expressions, generally were pretty decent, but it's the supporting cast that just kind of looked lifeless. So that would be my gripe with that. Finally, Nova #11. This thing really needs to do something. Something needs to happen. He's basically still stuck in Peter Parker time life cycle, meaning, he can't deal with school. He's still trying to figure out his powers, but the problem here is he's got no rogues gallery. Granted, you can say, well, he's got the rogues gallery of the other Nova, but so far there's nothing. And I'm like, you really need to start throwing. You're 11 issues in, and you really haven't given him villains. Like you've given him villains that might appear once or twice, but nothing like like a Vulture or a Diamond Head or a Green Goblin or Sphinx or somebody like that. Now, granted, you don't give him Sphinx now, but there's nobody like that. Condor, Powerhouse, none of those guys. And granted, I don't want to see any of them, but there's nobody new to replace that. Now, it's possible that the guy who appears at the end might be somebody for that, to fit that bill. It doesn't look like it, just because he's more of a trophy hunter rather than a super villain. And I'm like, ugh, you got to do something, kickstart this book. Okay, let's give you some freebies. We'll give you this one. And I purposely did not read that other Ultimates Cataclysm book because I'm telling you, that book is probably going to be a stinker. I'll read it probably tomorrow. And there's also, I think, 2 Inhumanity books I also didn't read. But I'm like, that The AI Avengers AI one actually looks like it has something legitimately crossing over, since there's a Cthulhu type villain in it. And then the other one, Mighty Avengers, that didn't look like it was a legitimate crossover. So we'll see. Anyways, if you have any comments or questions, let me know. Rate the video. Facebook, Crunchyroll Anime Reviews. Let me know what you guys think about this week's books. Like I'm telling you, this week's books are, for the amount of books that came out, I swear to God, man, some of these were really skippable. And I mean, I was really, honestly, 100% really looking forward to the two key Forever Evil books, JLA and Justice League, and sorely disappointed. Oh, and as a side note, I will tell you this. I skimmed through this book, Spider-Man 700.2. I liked it, and I really, really need to sit down and read it, because this really is classic Spider-Man, Peter Parker. That's the only thing, the reason why I didn't finish reading it is because it basically is, somebody found an old script of Spider-Man, changed things around, and redid it. And so it's nothing new to the table, but it's classic Peter Parker. So anyways, I'll have more reviews and stuff later. Until next time.